Here is the important topic, that is data types in C. So this is the most important topic. Data type specifies the following. The first one is type of data to be used in a program. So for example, if I want to use integer values in a program, then I have to use int data type. So it specifies the type of data to be used in a program, and it also specifies how much memory is required by the data. So whatever the data I have written and how much memory the data occupies, that also specified by the data types. And range of the data, we can also find out the range of a data. So integer has some range, and character has some range, and float has some range, double also has some range. So every data type has some range. Now C supports the following different types of data types. So here we have some of the data types. So C supports all of these. The first one is primary or primitive data types. So primary or primitive data types, these are the predefined data types like int, character, and float, double. These are called as the primitive data types. And the second one is non-primitive. Non-primitive nothing but user defined data types. So the user defined data types are also called as the non-primitive data types. And the third one is void data type. The next one is enumeration data type. So all these are the types of data types. So first let us discuss the primary data type. So in primary data type, these data types are predefined. So these are already defined or the system defined or built-in data types in C. So these data types are the predefined in C. Now C supports the following primary data types. So primary data types, let's discuss what are they. So primary data types, we have integer number, that is we use the word as int, and floating point, we use the keyword as float, and character type, and we use the keyword as char. So these are the three types of the primary data types. Let's discuss about the integer data type. So in integer data type, we have the signed in and unsigned in. So signed in nothing but it takes both positive and negative numbers. By default, int takes both positive and negative numbers. So signed in nothing but this is also a keyword. It is also a predefined keyword. This signed in takes both positive and negative numbers. In unsigned int, it takes only the positive integers. So whenever we want to use only positive numbers, then we can use the keyword as unsigned int. So whenever we want both positive and negative numbers, then we can use this unsigned. We can no need of mentioning unsigned, because by default in C program, by default int takes both positive and negative numbers. So even if we take the keyword as int, also it takes the both positive and negative values. But whenever you want to use only positive numbers, then you can use the unsigned int. Now integer, the keyword is int. Now this is of two types, signed integer and unsigned integer. And so the keyword we use it as signed int, and for unsigned integer we use it as unsigned int. Now in signed integer we have the two types. So the first one is signed short int and the second one is signed long int. So for short and long, it has some ranges, and the memory will also be different. For in unsigned integer also we have the two types. One is unsigned short int and another one is unsigned long int. Now for each data type, let's discuss the memory size in bytes and their format specification also. The first one is int. So we know that int can also be used as signed int. So int or signed int. So for integer, it occupies 2 bytes of memory. So the memory size is 2 bytes for int data type. Now the format specification we used as %d. Now the next one is unsigned int. So for unsigned int also, it occupies 2 bytes of memory, and the format specification will be percentile u. And the next, shortened or signed shortened. So the both are same, shortened or the signed shortened. So for this, it occupies 1 byte or 2 bytes. It depends on the compiler you are using. The format specification will be percentile d. And for unsigned shortened, it takes either 1 byte or 2 bytes, and the format specification will be percentile u. The next, for the long int or the signed long int, it occupies 4 bytes, and the format specification will be percentile ld. So for long we use L. Then unsigned long int, for this it occupies the 4 bytes, and the format specification is percentile u. So this is about the integer data type. So for each of the data types, it occupies some memory in the computer system, and for each data type we have some format specification. So based on the integer, like based on the positive and negative numbers, you can choose the data type, whether you want signed int or unsigned int. Now let's see the second data type, that is float. It is a number with decimal point. So in integer we only represent the numbers, but in float, number with some decimal point. So float is a keyword to declare a floating point number. So float is with a lowercase letters. So all keywords are used by the lowercase letters. So float is a keyword to declare a floating point number. Now see, suppose the following float point numbers. So in this C we have the floating point. For that we use the float. We have the 3 types in this. The first one is float. So when we use the float keyword, it takes only up to the 6 decimal point. For example, 5 point, so 35.00000. So for example, like this, if we take 35.0000000, so we have the 6 decimal point. So after the point, it takes only the 6 digits. So for that we use the float. In double, after the decimal point, it has the 11. So 11 decimal points will be there in the double. In the long double, it goes up to the 15 decimal points. So it depends upon the, it depends based on the user which data type he want to use. So float, double and long double. So for float 6 decimal points, and for double 11 decimal points, and for long double 15 decimal points. So let's see the how much memory it occupies for each data type. Now float, it occupies 4 bytes of memory, and the format specification is percentile f. For double, it occupies 8 bytes, and the format specification is percentile f. And for long double, it occupies 10 bytes. The format specification is percentile f. So for all these 3 types we use the percentile f, but their use is different, and their memory size also increases as the decimal points increase. This is about the float data type. And finally we have the character data type. So in character data type, so we use the char as a keyword. It allows the user to take only one character at a time. So when we are using a character, that is char data type, at the time it allows only to take one character. We cannot use many characters by declaring only a single character. So in this, the char is a keyword. This char is used to declare the characters. So characters should be enclosed in a single quote mark. So in single quote mark only we have to mention the character, and for each only the character, it allows only to take the one character. This is about the character data type. So examples for the character is, we know that we denote the characters in a single quote mark. So for the first one is A, and special symbols can also be called as the characters. So the question mark, S, and 7 is an integer, but when we are using the char data type and within the single quote we are mentioning, that comes under the character only. And this is dollar, and then at the rate of, and then next the space, only one space, it can take only one space, so space is also a character. So we cannot use the double spaces because it is whatever we are using, we have to use only the single character. We cannot take many characters at a time, so in single quote we have to mention only one character. So space is also a character. Now when the user want to use many characters, then he can use the string. So where string is a collection of characters which are enclosed in double quotation mark. So single character we mention it in the single quote. When there are many characters, so the collection of characters or the group of characters, we call it as a string. And this string, this collection of characters, we enclose it by the double quotation mark. So example, within the double quotes I am writing welcome, and the second one is hello world, and within the double quotes I am writing 1 2 3 4 5, and here the example is abc at the rate of xyz. So these all are the collection of the characters. So w is a character, e is a character, l is a character, c is a character, o is a character, m is a character, e is a character. So these all are single characters. When we are combining it, so collection of all these characters becomes a string. So this is about the string, and we enclose it by the double quotation mark. Now for the character we have the two types, signed char and unsigned char. So for these two type, it takes a memory size and the format specification will be different. So let's see the first one. So we can use char, we can also use the signed char. For this it takes the 1 byte of memory, and the format specification is %c. This is small c. And unsigned char, for unsigned char it also occupies the 1 byte of memory, and the format specification is %u. So this is about the character. So integer data type, float data type, and character data type. So these three data types comes under the primitive data types or the primary data types. Now let's see the non-primitive, that is the user defined data types. So the second type in data types is user defined data type. So these data types are defined by user by using primary data types. So we use the primary data types in this. So by that we are creating some other data types, and those data types are defined by the user. So examples are array, structure, pointers, unions. So primitive primary data type, those are defined, those are already defined, nothing but those are predefined. In user defined, those are not predefined, nothing but those are defined by the user, and the user define the data types by using the primary data types. So examples are arrays, structures, pointers, unions, and etc. So we shall discuss all these in the upcoming chapter. Let's see the third one, that is void data type. So void is a keyword. We have seen in the previous video, void is a keyword in the C programming. If any function doesn't return any value, then it is specified by void data type. So if any function does not return any value, then we use the void. If it want to return, then we have to use the int data type. So void means nothing or empty, or it has no value. So when we use void, nothing but the function does not return the value. So for example, we are using int main. So int main nothing but it returns some value, so we are using return 0. So it returns integer, nothing but it returns a value. So when we are using void, it does not returns any value. So that's why we are not specifying the return 0, because the void does not return value. So this is about the void data type. And the next, the final one is enumeration data type, which is the final types in the data types. So enumeration data type, that is, it allows the user to write their own integral constants and their values. So user will be able to write a own integral constants and their values. So enum is a keyword. So we use the enum keyword to define the enumeration. So the first one is enum departments. So we represent it in the flower curly braces, and within that we will write the names here. So it is a the user can write their own integral constant or their values. So user can write any values in within the brackets here. So for that we use the enumeration, and the keyword is enum. So enum and the departments. So departments, like it is a enumeration name. So for variables also we use some variable name. With the variable name only we declare and we initialize the values and the data type views. Similarly, here also we use the enum, and with the enumeration name within the flower brushes we write the values. It depends on the user. So for example, I am taking enum departments. Departments is the enumeration name, and within the flower brushes I am writing some of the departments as CSM, CSG, DS, ECE, Triple E, and the civil and the mechanic. So this, and I am closing the curly brace and ending with the semicolon. So we declare like this. This is a declaration of the enumeration, and we are also initializing the values here. For second one is enum result. So result is also enumeration name. So in result we will have three cases. First one is pass, fail, and the absent, and closed with the curly brace and ended with the semicolon. So this is how we declare the enumeration data type. So we discuss enumeration and the user defined data types in the further classes. So this is all about the types of data types in C, which is a very important for the exam.